Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to be having a look at the demo version of StitchArtist 1 from Embrilliance. So if you followed my channel for any length of time, you'll know that I use Embrilliance Essentials, which is the paid for version for creating text and merging designs, etc. for my embroidery projects. But Embrilliance offer a free working version of all their modules that you can download and install on your computer, and you can use and play with and get to know how all the different features and functions of a specific module work. The only thing you can't do is save your design and stitch it, but it's the same with anything. I mean, if you follow me for the ScanNCut, you'll know that I always say when we're using Canvas Workspace, the only way to learn how to do something is to just play around with the software. Well, it's exactly the same with Embrilliance. If you come to embrilliance.com and then you'll arrive on the home page, which is here. Then go to downloads, and then it says here, looking for a demonstration version. I just clicked on that. And then from here, if you just look at the bottom here, you'll see it gives you downloads for Mac OS and it gives you versions for Windows. Once it downloaded, so for me on a Mac, it drops into my downloads folder. I then just unzipped it and installed it in the way I would do any other program on my Mac. So you would do the same if you were using Windows. Once that was done, on a Mac, again, if you press the F4 button on your keyboard, it brings you to your applications folder, and you'll see I've got two Embrilliance icons. The one here on the left says Embrilliance, and the one on the right, which you might not be able to see properly, says Embrilliance Demo. All as I did from here was I clicked on the Embrilliance demo and I dragged it into my dock. So at the bottom of my dock now, I've got two Embrilliance icons. One says Embrilliance, one says Embrilliance Demo. And that's the one I'm going to be working in today. But first of all, I just want to open my regular Embrilliance program just to show you something. So I'm just going to close the web down and just put Embrilliance back on my screen. So I'm just going to make the hoop smaller. My Embrilliance Essentials, the last time I used it, I used my 8x12 hoop, so that's what's coming up. Really what I want to show you here is just the icons that are at the top of the page. In my Embrilliance Essentials, this is what I see. So normally I would click on the letter A, it brings up the A, B, C in the straight line, and then it would come over to fonts and I'd choose a font that I've got installed in my Embrilliance. Sometimes you want to do a project and you might want to use a particular font and you've not got it in a stitch file, but you've got the font on your computer that you maybe, use in ScanNCut projects or something like that. So using StitchArtist 1, there are 3 levels of StitchArtist, by the way, 1, 2 and 3, and each one offers you features or more advanced features. But today I'm just looking at StitchArtist 1. So I'm going to close my regular Embrilliance down and just get rid of it. This is Eddie, by the way, my little 3-year-old rascal, for anybody that doesn't know. So now I'm going to double click or click to open the Embrilliance demo, and it brings up this box. It says this is a non-saving demonstration, and you can choose any or all of the features from any of the Embrilliance modules here and have a fully featured working program. The only thing, as I say, you can't do is stitch or save. I just want to look at StitchArtist 1 today. So Essentials is ticked by default, that's your basic program. And then I'm going to click StitchArtist 1. So Essentials is what I've just shown you, the version I paid for, but I'm going to look at it in demo version today. One thing I would say is, if you've already got any of the Embrilliance modules installed on your computer, when you go to the demo version and download the demo version, this saves separately, so they don't interfere with your paid for Embrilliance, and that's why I've got 2 icons at the bottom of my screen. So I'm going to say StitchArtist level 1 and say OK. So by default, my hoop has come in portrait. I'm going to double click where it says hoop just to change the orientation. Now, if you remember in the other Embrilliance, so the Embrilliance Essentials that I pay for, all as I had was these icons here. I had the icons up to the yellow folder and the 3 after it. I didn't have this one here. This is the create icon that you get when you have any of the StitchArtist programs. Just going to try and move this in so you can see it all in the screen and bring my hoop down. Like I say, today I'm just looking at StitchArtist 1, and I just want to show you how you can bring in a font that you've already got installed on your computer that you may have downloaded from dafont.com, you know, just a regular true type font, not a stitch file or anything like that, just a basic font that you've installed that, you know, you maybe use in like your Word documents or your Pages documents if you use a map, or like I say, in Canvas workspace. How you get to the StitchArtist features is you come up to this icon here. If you hover over it, you'll see it says create designs. So I'm just going to left click on that. By the way, I use a Mac, as I said, I use a Mac keyboard and I use a Mac Magic Mouse. If you use a trackpad, the functions might be slightly different, but you should be able to work out how to navigate through this if you already use a trackpad. So I've left clicked on here, and now you'll see other features are popping up. So you'll get this image icon and you'll get this true type font icon. I'm not going to look at image today. I am going to do another video showing you how you can map out a design from an image, but today it's just about the fonts. So if I go and left click on the true type font icon, that brings up this box. Now again, I'm on a Mac. Yours may look slightly different if you use Windows, but you will somehow have where you can choose your font and where you type your text and where you say OK. So in here, you know, yours may come up with a different one. It may start with Arial, for example. I want to use a font called Baby Story for this example, which I've already got installed on my computer, as I say. Now, I can't remember where I got the font from, but if you're watching this video on YouTube, or if you're watching it on my blog and you're looking at the video, it will be the YouTube video. What I will do, I will try and link to the font in the accompanying blog post. So if you're on YouTube directly, go to where the title of this video is, click on the show more box or the see more box, and the first link normally under the description of the video says my website and blog. Click on that, click on the blog, and then look for the thumbnail of this video, and if I can find where I got this font from, I will link it in the description. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to click on the drop down box and I'm going to choose Baby Story. You can see it's changed the font here. I'm going to highlight by double clicking where it says text, and I'm just going to type Eddie, and then I'm going to hit OK. And that will bring the word that I've just typed onto my screen. Now from here, I'm going to click on the arrow just to deselect StitchArtist just for a minute. And what I would advise you doing, and you do this with anything, so whether this is something you're bringing in to map, to make stitches out of a, you know, a JPEG or a bitmap, or whether you're using the true type fonts, I would always set the size before you start. Because if you set the size, generally you can see it easier, you know, if it's something that you're doing bigger. But it's better to set the size now and let this software make the stitches for you than, you know, maybe trying to adjust the size afterwards. So I clicked on the arrow to get me into just the basic essentials screen, if you like. And up here in the left, I've got mine set on inches, and I'm going to make the design 9 inches wide just to make it bigger. As I say, this is my 8x12 hoop. If you were using a 4x4 hoop, then obviously you adjust the size accordingly. I'm going to highlight where the width is, and I'm just going to hit type 9 and hit enter. So now that's changed the design to 9 inches wide by 4 7/8 inches high. So basically just about 5 inches high. So this is basically just an outline. It's not stitches or anything at this moment. So to make this now into stitches, I'm going to come back to the create icon and left click, and then from here you use these boxes here. If I click the first box, that is just a straight run stitch. And from here, you can choose whether you want to make this a double stitch or a bean stitch or a chain stitch. I'm just going to put it back to single for now. And you can adjust the length by clicking on this slider here and making your stitches different sizes. Me personally, while I'm just learning how to use this program, for anything like this, I would just leave it on the default, because like I say, you can't save it and you can't stitch it anyway, but it's just a way of learning, you know, what different things in the program do. So we're on a run stitch and I'm on single. If I come back up to the top and come to the next icon, this is a satin border. And again, you know, you can have a look at it and you can see what it does. It will tell you what the width is, what the density is. The pattern's set to none, so basically it's just a straight satin border, so it's a satin stitch. And again, you can, you know, play around with the elements in here. You could change it to an applique. You can fill it, which is probably what I would do if I was gonna, you know, stitch this out. If this were, you know, if I decide that I like how StitchArtist 1 works and I want to buy the module, once I've bought the module, that will install in my existing Embrilliance Essentials folder, and then obviously I can, you know, stitch it or do whatever I want to it. So I'm just going to click on the compass at the top and I'm just going to click back to hoop so you can see the hoop view. I would then save this, put it on my machine, and I would test stitch it, you know, maybe just on a couple of layers of hooped stabilizer or some old fabric that I might use for test stitching designs. So I would probably use a fill and test stitch it. So that's how you can take a font that isn't a stitch file but that you've already got installed on your computer, and using StitchArtist 1, it's got to be a true type font, and you can type it in as a true type font and play around with it. Now from here you can double click on it and you can still edit, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to click the select icon at the top, just click off to deselect. But again, you can do anything that you would normally do in your basic Embrilliance Essentials program. So let's say you want to, you know, make the font, the letters a bit closer. If you double click, you can move it over, double click on your next one and move that over, double click on your next one and move that over, just to, you know, make it look a bit more not as spaced out, if that makes sense. What you can do, if you go to the top of your page and go to view and view jumps, it will show you where the jump stitches are. I'm just going to go back into the create mode because it shows you them in red, which it makes it easier to see. So again, from here, play around with this. You can learn how jump stitches work. So you can see here, if I go to the stitch simulator and just speed it up a little bit and press play, you'll see it stitch the E, then it'll go back and it'll do all its filling, you know, what it's going to do. And then you see it jumped. So it jumped from this position here down to the middle of the center D, but you might not want that. You might want your jump stitch to be somewhere else. So let's go back to create. We know it jumps from here down to here, but you might want to put the jump here just to make it easier for you to, you know, clip with your scissors if your machine doesn't cut jump stitches, etc. So if we left click while we're in create on this next letter, you'll see you've got bow tie icons. You'll have a green one and a red one. The green one is where the stitch of that particular object you've got selected will start, and the red is where it ends. So if I hover over the green, you'll know I've got the green because the green bow tie appears in a bigger view under my black arrow. If I go to the red, you'll see it changes to the red. If I go to the green, and once I know I've got the green selected, click and drag and move that up there, you'll see now the jump stitch has moved. Okay, so that means once this is stitched, it will jump from here to here and start stitching. So if we run the simulator again, And can you see it jumped from here to here, and it means it's going to start the top of the D, whereas before it jumped from here down to the middle of the D. So if I go back to the simulator, you can do the same. If I click on the D, you can see it's going to end here and it's going to jump across. You might be happy with it ending there, but you might want it to start stitching up here. So if you come to the next letter and look for the green bow tie again and drag it up and let go and click away, you'll now see that this finishes here and it jumps and it will start up here. So these are the kind of things that you can play around with in the demo version, and all these things will help you learn how the software works. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to come back to the select icon and left click it, so I can just drag an imaginary box around this font and hit delete. Then I'm going to come back to the create button and I'm going to come back to a true type font, and I'm just going to look for another font. So let's try this one, BFC Sugar Sweet. Again, I'm going to highlight it. Now this is all lowercase, so I'm just going to type Eddie again and click OK. I'm going to come, you can drag the size out by using the handles. So I'm just going to undo that, but I prefer to go to the selection tool and type in the size I want. So let's say I want to use my 4x4 hoop. I'm going to come to the properties. I'm going to look for a 4x4 hoop, which is 100 by 100, and it tells me here 100 by 100 millimeters is approximately 4x4. I'm going to say apply and OK. There's my word Eddie at 2¼ inches wide. So let's make this 3.75 inches wide. So hopefully it will just fit inside this hoop. So now I'm going to come back to create and I'm going to do the same thing. We can fill it and I'll change the colour in the hope that you might be able to see it better. Let's change it to a blue and say OK. So that would be how this one would look. And if I go to the Stitch Simulator and press play, you'll see it does the outline, put some underlay stitches down, then it does the fill and it will work its way through. I'm just going to pause that. So let's go back to the create button. If you want to make this just a simple run stitch, I'm going to select it, come back to create, make it a run, and then again I'm going to hit the select everything, go to create, click on the run stitch, and I'm going to click on the first letter of the word, and again you can see you can change it. So you might want to do a stem stitch. So let's zoom in and have a look at that. Just going to deselect and then let's go to the Stitch Simulator and hit play. And that's what a stem stitch looks like. The rest is in the basic run stitch because I've not changed anything there. So let's go back. I'm going to come to the compass icon at the top and I'm just going to click H for hoop. I'm going to click on this and go back to create and change this to a basic single again. So there's lots of things that you can do. I'm going to click on the select icon, select the word, go back to create. You could make it like an applique stitch and then you'll see what it's done here. It's put different colours in automatically for you. So if we go to the Stitch Simulator, and I'll just drag the simulator manually here to show you. So it will do the placement stitch, then it will do like the tack down, then it will do the placement stitch for the next. So let's say you wanted to do this in fabric. Let's go back to the beginning. It will do the placement stitch for your letter. The machine would stop because the next section is a different colour because the software's done that automatically for you. You could lay your fabric down on top and then you could embroider around it. Then it would move on to the next one and change it all to a run stitch. So I'm just going to select all that and hit delete. So that's a quick overview of using the demo version of StitchArtist 1. I'm still learning. I never really wanted to learn how to digitize. I mean, I'm more of a scan and cut person, and as you know, I like to use my embroidery machine, so I have Embrilliance Essentials. But digitizing is, it's a specialist art form, so it's not something that I particularly wanted to learn. But there are some times, like I say, you know, something that I might want to stitch and I think, oh, I wish I had that font that I've got, you know, just installed on my computer that I use in a Word document, or I use it in Canvas Workspace. I'd like to be able to stitch it out, and having at least StitchArtist 1 will enable you to do that. So like I say, I am still learning, and while I'm still learning, I'm just going with whatever settings Embrilliance gives me for whatever I put in my hoop. And I just think it's a good way to learn how things work before you then venture and pay to buy the next module, because you know the modules are expensive. All embroidery software is expensive. There are lots of different softwares out there. I use Embrilliance for the simple reason that when I bought my very first ever embroidery machine, which was a Janome, at that time the only program that worked on Mac was Embrilliance. That's why I bought the Embrilliance Essentials basic package. But in the next video, I'm going to bring in a simple image and I'm going to show you. So if I go back into Create quickly, I'm going to go and get a simple image and show you how you can use the image and map out stitches. So that's today's video. Please give it a thumbs up if you found it helpful. Don't forget to subscribe. Make sure you've got the bell notification icon switched on, because that way you'll know when I upload a video, and I'll see you in the next video.